All right, we are back.
We are here. Hi,
We
Therese.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's beautiful. It's Friday, which is awesome.
Yeah, a lot here too. It's been pouring here constantly, but my vegetables are loving it, so all good. Yeah, all good. And this week we have no kids, so that's also all good, which is
Wait,
awesome.
where? What? How
Yeah,
did I
they're
not
in
know this? Where are
Florida.
they at? Oh,
They're in
that's right.
Florida.
I did know this.
Yeah, you did know this.
Eh,
Maybe not. All right. So, what the hell are we talking about today?
How the f did you get here?
Yeah, so this is our question that we both answer.
Mm-hmm.
And just a reminder, I have no idea what Miss Macaulay's going to say or even how she's going to define here.
Same.
And she has no idea either. So, Miss Macaulay, how the F did you get here, girl?
Well, I was born on August 31st of
God, no,
1980.
no, we don't need to go that far.
Okay,
Hey,
so
hey, okay. So when you're like selecting your birthday on apps, aren't you just, yes, you're just like,
rolling for
just
my life.
rolling until you get there.
Yeah.
That's not funny and it's not
No.
cool. And I
It,
feel attacked every time
it,
I have to scroll for 16 minutes just to get to
yes.
my birth year. Not cool. But anyways, continue
Yes.
as you were.
That's the same. A lot of scrolling happening over here. Well, let's say where I'm from. I'm from Michigan, so there's that going forward. And a lot of how I got here, it all I mean, of course, all of it takes place back home in the beginning. But when I really think about like career-wise, how I got here as a business owner, but then also the experience that I needed in order to become a business owner, I it all falls down, it all comes back to that nursing home in East Lansing or Lansing, Michigan. And really that it was the start of my professional journey. So I was in Michigan State, not a great student. Um, I am a registered dietitian by training, and almost every single registered diet or every single nutrition major who I graduated with the exception of me and I think three other people in a graduating class of about 100 graduated with their post grad internships lined up already. I was one of three who didn't have that lined up because I didn't even try because I knew my grades wouldn't allow for me to get any internship, let alone a good one. And it was just, I wasn't necessarily ready for college. Undergrad was hard for me. As far as school was hard, classes were hard, paying attention was hard, but my God, God damn, are those parties fun. And at Michigan State, I found myself into a situation that made it so I was one of three who did not have an internship. So what that did is I graduated. It was my responsibility to pay my own way. You better go out there and get yourself a damn job, girl. Here comes the nursing home as the assistant dietary manager or assistant director of nutrition, whatever we called it then. I would not, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that role because that role inspired me to go back and I worked with a dietitian. She's wonderful. Oh, Masumi, I'm going to send this to you so you can see it. She was this wonderful RD that we had that came in just 6 hours a week. And every time I'd see her, she'd say, "How close are you to doing your internship? Do you have your papers filled out? Have you picked one you want?" That went on for 2 years. And then
Yeah.
it I realized, okay, I've got actually a lot of experience now. And I've worked very closely with the registered dietitian now for 2 years. I do think I may have something to offer. There may be an internship out there who wants to take a chance on me. Um, and she, gave me a recommendation. I had to do all the paperwork. This was 2005. So this is when I did my internship. There was a lot of stuff that was manual. Girl, I had to go into my office, like the director's office at Michigan State to get paperwork and stuff because we couldn't do it
Hmm.
online yet.
Yeah.
Um, I thought I'd swing for the fences and just start applying to internships that I thought were way out of reach. And I had a couple safety ones in there. And the match process works a lot like medical school. It's different now. So if you're listening to this now and you're a new grad, it doesn't go like this, but it did. Where I applied to 5 or 6 internships and I had to rank them and then they would rank me. And I
Hmm.
thought, let me rank the first three, you know, Johns Hopkins, Vanderbilt, somewhere out in California where my, like, I don't stand a chance, but let's just give it a shot. Um, and I got a call from Johns Hopkins to do the internship for an interview. I drove out to Baltimore, did my internship, and would you know it, this is really just serendipity. The internship director, here's the other person I'm going to call out, Janet Debelius. I know you're out there somewhere. I'm going to send this episode to you as well. Masumi and Janet. Um, After the interview, we were almost wrapped up, and she said, "Okay, so do you know anything about me?" This was before LinkedIn. This was before social media. I didn't know anything about anybody. She
Yeah.
said, "I'm a graduate of Michigan State. I have wanted to have a Michigan State graduate in my program for years,
Mm,
and I'm happy that you applied." She didn't say, "You got it," because it's a matching process. If
sure.
they had wanted me, but I hadn't ranked them in my first
Yeah.
1 or 2, we wouldn't have matched. But of course I did. It's Johns Hopkins Hospital. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I got that internship. That changed my entire life because, like I said, I had been not a great student. But what I found out was I was a damn good employee. I was an excellent employee. So I walked into that internship as if it was a job. And I was, a year and a half, 2 years older than most of the other interns, but I had a different mindset. I had this, like, I'm in control of this situation because I had to go through a lot of hoops to get there. Um, and it was amazing. It was wonderful. They offered me a job. I did not accept it because the pay at Johns Hopkins, listen, no shade, not great. But, I already had it on my resume at that point,
Mhm.
and really that opened up so many doors.
Yeah.
Having Johns Hopkins on my resume and knowing I had been successful there, a combination of other people seeing it and thinking it's impressive, and me knowing that I nailed it. I was an excellent, excellent intern because I saw myself as an employee, not a student. And I kind of had took that mindset with me everywhere I went, and that allowed me to promote really quickly because I took a lot of ownership over my career. Um, and to bring this back to the leadership topic of our podcast, I people saw me as a leader before I saw myself as one because I saw myself as in charge of my own destiny. I was, I could make my own decisions and make things happen. Um, I wasn't thinking about it in a way of showing other people, look, maybe I can make things happen with our team. But other
Yeah.
people saw that in me. Um, and then just one job to another job. Also, though, how the bleep did I get here? I was willing to take a lot of jobs that were either stretch jobs or picking up, moving across the country, renting an apartment sight unseen, that kind of situation. I did some of that too. So
Yeah.
a little bit of a risk taking element. But I felt like I had been given these weird opportunities that I wouldn't have expected. And I wasn't going to not live up to it. Like, like, this is my story, but I have a question for you right now.
Go for it.
What are you motivated by? Whether it's good or bad. What have you thought about what is your motivator?
I have
Your
a
internal motivator.
Yeah, my biggest, if I'm being 100% honest, my biggest motivator is, how can I articulate this? It's fear of, now it's gonna be deep, I guess, but my
Make it
biggest
deep.
motivator is fear of getting to the end of my life and looking back and thinking, "Man, I wish I had done this. I wish I had tried this." That tends to be my biggest kind of like overarching motivator. And the next one for me is, I come from pretty humble beginnings. And so I guess my motivation is a lot of fear. Just fear of ever being in a situation where I am unable to take care of myself, my family. Um, but those are all like me, I. But those are the two, probably the top ones for me is just fear of getting to the end of my life and looking back and going, "God, I should have just done whatever.
Should have started that
I
podcast.
should have started that podcast. I
No,
should have."
being so honest with that. I think that is the motivator. We can have these wonderful esoteric kind of like altruistic motivators, but
Mhm,
honestly,
mhm.
they're all about survival.
Yep,
And mine, I realize that mine is my fear of not living up to what I know I can do. And you and I
yeah,
have talked about that before,
yeah,
but
yep,
that's when I realized it. When I saw what I could do, I was like,
mhm,
there was no going back. Once you get a
yeah,
little hit of that, like, oh man, people think I can do this. Well, they
yeah,
can't all be wrong. So let me see what I can do. And
yeah,
I do think that's part of how I got anywhere is seeing that if you see one tiny little glimpse of anybody believing in you, like, don't take that as a fluke. Take that as a, maybe I just haven't noticed that about myself before. And then just F and jump.
just do it,
Do it.
yeah. But
Yeah.
even that, like, so you say that, right? But even knowing that you know that about yourself, it doesn't mean that there are not times where you question.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
Yeah.
why it's so important, I think, when you talk about, like, how the F did I get here, good or bad. I
Mhm.
think it's also important to look at even the people around you. Listening to your story, I was writing notes because I was just it was just interesting that, it's almost like every step of the way there was someone.
Yeah.
There was someone saying, you
Who
know,
who I
"When
didn't
did you
know.
when did you apply?"
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Like, they had this belief in you. And so even if you know already, like, I want to live up to my potential, it doesn't mean that it's easy every single day. It
No.
doesn't mean that at all. It means that you have to have good people around you. It means that it requires a conscious effort. And it also requires you quieting the noise.
I
Um,
think that's
sometimes.
huge.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have both been in situations where you and I both have been in front of pretty big opportunities where we both are calling each other like, "I don't
I can do
I don't think
this.
I could do this." And the other
I
one's
don't
like,
think
"What the
I'm
hell are
ready
you
for
talking
this.
about?"
Yeah.
Yeah, or sometimes it's just like, "Okay, I hear you, let's walk through it,"
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
So
and having that person there, it's often not whoever it's not gonna be the people you think it is, you know?
mm-mm,
It's not. I didn't know Masumi. I didn't know her until I started working there. I had no idea. I didn't actually even know what dietitians at nursing homes did. I didn't
yeah,
know Janet. I didn't have any idea. And I think the reason that those 2 things stick out so strongly to me is, like I said, and I said I was a poor student, that didn't start in college. I was almost held back in 2nd grade. I was kicked out of class. I was often the girl that you would see sitting in the hallway trying to figure out what just happened. Like, why am I what went wrong? And it was, this is the '80s and '90s. I Nobody had ADHD. You were just like, "Shut up. Why can't you pay attention?" And I didn't know that about myself until well into college. And so I
yeah,
almost didn't graduate high school. So I don't even know if you were to ask me what I thought I was going to do with my life in high school. I don't know, I'd give you some weird answer, but I didn't really have any true belief that I could do it. I didn't have anybody screaming at me. There was no I'm like, I don't wanna paint this, like, poor little girl, poor little suburban Detroit girl image, because it wasn't like I had people telling me I couldn't do anything. If anything, I had people asking, like, "Why can't you do this?" Like, I know you can do this. I know you're not
yeah,
dumb. What's going on?" So it was this, like, constant feeling of, like, "Oh, I'm behind," or "I don't know why I can't do it." And then something hit, and for me, it was the shift of student to employee. And then you and I have talked about that shift from employee to business owner. That one's a little stickier for me because
yep,
I was damn good
yeah,
at being an employee.
yep,
So, but
yeah,
then, back to how I got here, sitting in this chair right now, lot of steps, but promotion, promotion, promotion. Found a man online who didn't live where I lived. And so we had about a year and a half of long distance relationship. Um, Took not even a lateral, it was like a straight demotion to move here. And that was hard because when you become motivated by that next promotion, by that pay increase, by that like influence increase, really hard to take a step back. But oh my gosh, that prepared me for the next job where I got promoted 3 times within 6.5 year, 5.5 years because I was trying to make up for lost time. And then COVID happened and I started a business. There's some stories there too, but That's pretty much
Yeah.
sums it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is people believed in you. You took chances. You took some risks. Um, some of it was a little bit of fear. Um, and letting go of certain things too, because you said it. I hope you let go of it. I don't know. Maybe you haven't, because you said this a few times. I was not a good student. I was not a good
Yeah.
student. Not a good student. I wasn't very good as a student. You said it a bunch of
Uh-huh.
times,
That's the
but
life
probably
lesson.
letting go of that. Um, as well. And I
Well,
think that's important too. Sorry, I just
no, keep
I
riff,
think
girl.
I just think it's important too to call that out, because, all these kids in school now and in college or whatever, and a lot of us have been taught that, hey, you've got to excel as a student. You have to be top this, top that, blah blah blah. And I guess there's some truth to that when it comes to like competing for like, Ivy League or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the lesson there is that just because one area was not necessarily your strength for one reason or another, it doesn't mean you can't fulfill your dreams. It doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means you have to figure out your own like unique way to success,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
it's a lot of you have to figure out what are those other skills you can develop, and one thing for
Yeah.
sure, I never one time in my career did I have a job interview and not get the job. I'm a damn good job interviewer.
Damn,
And
girl.
you have to be if you've got that little chip on your it's not even a chip on my shoulder, but it felt like for years this thing that other people had I just couldn't get. I couldn't you can't go back and remake your grades. Although, asterisk, I did go back and get my master's, started in
Mhm.
2018, finished in 2020, 3.98. And I was
Yeah,
like, because I hustled and I also knew what I wanted to do, and it's different. Having a master's program when you're an adult is different than doing undergrad
completely.
as an actual kid. I was
Yeah,
17 when I started college.
yeah, yep,
So,
exactly. Do you ever feel like you're behind still?
not anymore, I don't. Sometimes I feel like it's harder to take the really and we've talked about this. It's harder to convince yourself to take those really big swings when it's your own
Mhm.
business.
Yeah,
Um, but I know for sure I would not have been successful at this, running my business, the coaching and consulting, if I hadn't proven to myself that I could be an excellent employee and an excellent uh, supervisor, manager, director. I had to prove to myself along the way that I could do each one of those. And so this just felt like the next progression.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good story. I
Thanks,
like
Anne.
it. I mean, I kinda knew most of it, but in chippity choppy ways, not like in a nice little timeline for me, which I
Yeah,
appreciate.
of
I appreciate a
course.
good timeline. And I
Wait,
think
I do wanna add hold on, one thing. I
go.
also wanna add, there is the privilege of me being a white woman. Like, add that to that, alright? As a white woman, going to a university that people have heard of, working in places that people have heard of, that has always helped, without a doubt.
Hmm,
So, I can't deny that at all, and I just hope that I can use some of that privilege to help other people.
hmm, interesting. I love that you said that. That's awesome. That's a whole different topic.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I guess I'll tell my story, and then I
Please
think if
do.
we have time, I want us to share our how the F we get here podcast here, right
Yeah.
here. Because that's a different story and it's kind of funny. Okay, so for me, well, I think most people know, maybe this audience doesn't, but born in Trinidad, moved here. As a preteen-ish. Grew up in Miami, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward in time, I was really good at sports. Got a scholarship to a college a small little college in Ohio. Um, and I liked partying way too much.
Girl,
Um,
we
no, like for real, real. Like for real, 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 real. So after 2 years, I can no longer go to that college. So, yeah, so I traded that college, for, another college about an hour away, and it was really just because it was this boy, and I was in love, and I just wanted to live with him and play house, and so we did that, and that was a colossal waste of time, and we did that for a little while, and I wasn't in college at that well, I went for, like, a semester, but then I quickly found out that so I had taken out a ton of loans, and I couldn't even get a damn loan, and, so I dropped out of school, and I was just working and, being in love,
Mhm.
and, and then reality kinda hit, and reality kinda hit because I met Kevin, and, Kevin was living in South Florida, I was in Ohio, we had, similar circles, yada, yada, and I was just sprung, and I was like, "I need to be with this man, I need to be with my man," and so I left Ohio, went back to South Florida, and I just was just doing the in love, working, with my man,
Mhm.
and and honestly, I think that was the one thing I learned about myself too, which is so interesting, is that I was not a good student. I had a hard time focusing on things, and I really struggled in that environment. But as an employee, I excelled. I was always coming up with ideas. I was always looking at things in a different way. I was always like suggesting, like, why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? And I worked in the mall, and I worked at an animal hospital for a little while. And then I finally got my first big girl job in a hospital, and I had zero skills. I was absolutely like so severely underqualified for this job I mean, I really should judge the person that hired me. I mean,
Don't don't send
her,
this to them.
her name is Stephanie Petrosky. She hired me out of the mall. And she was and continues to be one of the greatest gifts I've ever received, because she saw this very like untethered, wild spirited, unfocused, but I think high potential person, and she hired me, and I was her secretary in the medical staff office. I knew nothing about anything. I mean, when I say underqualified, like, I should judge her. Like, I would not advise her to hire me if I was consulting with her. But she did. I mean, to the point where the kind of conversations we would have, here's one, which I actually talked about once, and she was like, "I remember that." Was I showed up at work in my, like, super tight, like, professional slacks
Was
and,
this like 2002, 2001?
yeah, for sure.
This
So you know
this the
exactly what
the
I'm talking
Jessica
about.
Simpson era once again.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, super tight, and, with my thong, like, hanging out.
Whale
So I
tail.
would bend over, and you would just see my leopard thongs just waving back at you,
Time
and
out. Do you have a tramp stamp too? I don't. Do you have one?
I'm not gonna say that I don't.
I don't have one per se, but I'm imagining. This is closing my eyes. Whale tail tramp stamp. Go.
I'm not gonna say that I don't have. That's how I'm answering that question. I'm feeling really judged. Anyways, so
No,
those are the
with
kinds of
love, I
conversations we
hope.
would have. Like the conversation is like, well, we really want to make sure we wear pants that are hiding our whatever. But that was really when I discovered my love for like operations in this bizarro way, because I walked in there, and although I had no degree, no real skill, I'm really good at looking at mess and trying to fix it and clean it up. And I walked in there, and I thought, this could be done so much better. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of how it started, and fast forward, I developed in that role, I got a promotion, fast forward some more, um, I I still didn't have a degree or anything, and then what ended up happening was I got pregnant with this child named Zoe, and there was just something about, you know, realizing that I was gonna be responsible for someone else. That was when it clicked for me that, I wanted to have a better life, and I wanted to give my daughter a better childhood than I had had, and I realized that it required me having a formal education on some level, and so that's when I went back and I got my college degree, and I tell you, I was so bad at my previous college life that none of my classes applied to any damn thing. I mean, like, it
Yeah.
was actually laughable. In addition to being in a ton of debt, in addition to having a credit score of like -2, nobody and nothing would take me anywhere. And honestly, University of Phoenix was the
Mhm.
only school, and they really helped me kind of dig out of just a lot of this stuff, and I'm forever grateful to that program, honestly. People
Yeah.
feel so much shame sometimes when they're like, "Oh, I went to university." I'm like, "Actually, I actually feel so proud because I feel that was the first time, um, any anyone in a formal institution actually looked at me as if I had some level of value and
Mhm.
brain attached." So, got my degree and then, just kept getting promotions, kept stayed in the hospital systems, kept growing in those roles, and then, got my master's, in public health with a concentration in epidemiology. But again, I was a mom and then I was pregnant with the second one. And so I finished my master's like while having a brand new baby. And fast forward, relocated from South Florida, transitioned a little bit in my career, still in healthcare, but a different area,
Mhm.
staffing. And there is where I learned that not everybody should be in leadership. And there is where I learned that it's so important to, as a leader, show people the impact they have. Because if they don't know the impact, it's really hard for them to connect to the goals of the organization. And yeah, and fast forward, COVID came, 2021 hit. I was finally up for like this massive promotion. I was the national director of this company, so I was over like 32 offices. I don't know, something like 100 employees or more, different locations. And I was finally getting like the title with a president in the title and got on a call to talk through the logistics of it. And I was fired. And that was in
Son of a
2021.
bitch.
Yeah.
Have we done a show? We haven't recorded specifically about that before, I don't think.
No,
But
no, we haven't. No, we have
but
not.
that was the
Um,
first story I knew about you because that's
yeah,
how we met, was
that's
where
how we
we were
met.
telling our stories.
Yeah. So, and that was really when everything shifted. My entire trajectory, the way I think about work, the way I think about myself, the way I think about other people, everything shifted in that moment. And that's really when, you know, the second Therese showed up
Yeah.
on the scene. And that's how the FI got here.
Yeah. I did not know I knew we had some similarities in our
Yeah.
undergrad. I knew yours took you longer. I knew you had gaps.
Yeah.
I didn't actually realize that it was really a lot of the tailgating and partying that got in the way for you.
And the marijuana.
Well,
She that Mary Jane had a lot to do with it. Me and
mm,
Mary, we were like this in college.
mine was a lot of Boone's Farm. Shout out! I'm shouting a lot of people out. Shout out Roy Braytrall, my roomie who was in my
Ma
wedding. She was, but man, Snow Creek
my
Berry and us did it out
listen,
like.
mine
Mhm.
was Long Island iced teas, smoking a Black& and Mild, baby.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
2 most disgusting things ever to do. I mean, I lived
Could
it
do a
up.
Steel Reserve would be real rough too. Like any
Oof,
kind of malt liquor with that would be.
oof,
I
oof.
Oof. If we want to talk about
Uh,
undergrad dorm stories, which we don't, a lot of times I remember having to go get things to clean things up. I
that's
don't, we don't need to
right.
go there. We don't need to go
No, we
there
don't need to.
today.
And don't forget the back in the day Aldi's when they came out with their, $2 box wine. Hey, that was only for those, like, sophisticated nights, you know? But anyways, yeah, so
You can't let it
so
get in the way. So I don't
yeah,
know. Do we
yeah,
have college listeners? Probably not. But you can make a ton of, I don't even want to call them mistakes. You can take a lot of like detours and a lot of
yeah,
wrong ways and still end up. And that might be your story. That might be the story that you need to get to where you have to go. I know it was for me. I
yeah,
absolutely know. That's my differentiator. Certainly, as a registered dietitian, there's a whole lot of people who are type A, super straight, narrow, like they have a plan, follow it, no detours. That is not me. That has never been me. And that's also, I think, the case for most business owners. I would say that's a similarity we also share.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing that I learned because I actually if I'm being honest, I have a lot of regret when it comes to that phase of my life because I feel sad for that version of me because I think I was just really lost.
Yeah.
And I was just I was trying so hard to I don't know, like have a different I don't know. I was just a very lost person. And so I have um, a lot of regret about that phase of my life, if I'm being very honest, because I think
Mm,
I wasted so much time. I wasted a lot of time because I was so lost. And um, the thing that I took away from that was college is not for everybody. And so this kind of like, we're all being told when you graduate from high school, you gotta get into a good college so you can get a good job and get a nice house and then get the dog and the kids and all the things. And I wish someone had said to me, hey, you know what? It's okay if you don't go. Take a year, take 2 years, explore, kind of figure things out, figure out what you're passionate about, figure out what you like doing, fail at a few things. Um, I think that time would have been better spent, because I went into college with no direction, no idea of what I wanted to do. I was very broken, and so a lot of my partying and all the stuff I did was really just to quiet the noise and numb a lot of the realities around me when I probably should have just never done it in the first
mhm.
place, you know?
Or had waited.
Yeah,
That
I should have just
pause
waited. Yeah.
that I
Um,
learned the most from those 2 years between
yeah,
graduating barely, like, literally barely,
yeah,
to, getting an internship. I needed those 2 years to grow up and to see what I was actually good at, and we don't really that's not the message people get. I know, I mean, I'm a parent, my stepdaughter, but I'm a parent. I was nervous when she wanted to take a year off between finding a job, graduating and
yeah,
finding a job, and I had to keep reminding myself, "Y what the hell were you doing then?" You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, you didn't know
yeah.
what you were doing, but you felt pushed down a path. Nobody was pushing me. I was pushing myself down a path that
Yeah.
looked like the right
Well,
thing.
it's the expectation, right?
Yeah.
It's just the expectation.
Yeah, I think, like you'd mentioned, humble beginnings, very we have different, but I think what the common is, we didn't necessarily have the example in front of us. We for in my case, my parents wanted me to do something different than they had done, which was a lot of blue collar work. I mean, very
Yeah,
much, and
yeah,
they wanted me to have a different way of doing it, and so it was not an option, and I do not fault them for that. I honestly needed somebody to push me at that age,
sure.
um, but looking back on it now, as a full-grown, old-ass adult, I can see where I needed those kind of nebulous lost years.
Yeah. And for me, I think it's well, my parental dynamic was very different than yours, but I
Mhm,
think and again, like you said, no fault of anyone. This is not in any way blaming anybody or anything like that. Um, because our parents are people and they're out here just trying to figure it out like the rest of us.
mhm,
And so I think for me, no one was really pushing me in any direction for really anything. So I was trying to create the path, but I didn't even know where the path was. The path to what, So I was just creating a path because I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm supposed to create a path. So I'm just going to create a path, and I was just laying down pavers and not knowing where the hell this path was taking me. And I
yeah,
think that's when I just didn't have any direction, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything, and also too, I'm an immigrant, so are my parents, and so even just navigating this system was foreign. And so a lot of what I learned came from like a school counselor or my track coach or, uh, there was no YouTube. There was
no,
no, yeah, there was no chat GPT. There was
Lord, no.
none of that. And that was back when you had to fill out those paper applications and send your $20 application fee. Well, I didn't have that.
Hope for the best because you were like, "What's gonna happen
Yeah,
now?"
but I
Yeah.
didn't have the $20 application fees to go and apply to all these schools. I applied to one,
Mhm.
and it was a school that my track coach went to and he took me on a tour, and that was the school I went to,
Mhm.
because I and then I took out a ton of loans because, again, there was no, like, real direction. I
Yeah.
just knew that I wanted something different, and this was the way to get it. And that brings up a
Yeah.
whole different thing that we don't need to get into, but I
We
hate the
don't.
fact that we're giving kids student loans.
Yeah.
I
That
hate the fact that
it's
they're able to sign these contracts that
that's
tie them up for
babies.
decades
Mhm.
as babies, as children. That's BS. But anyways,
Yeah. But, this is really these are just great reminders of I forgot. I actually forget about a lot of the things that like I didn't get I barely graduated high school. I didn't just mosey on into Michigan State University. They didn't accept me. I was denied, understandably. I had to denied my ass. I didn't get accepted the first year. I had to go to a different school for a freshman year. I
yeah,
forget about that all the time. Um,
yeah,
and that required me almost being an employee, and that was actually the first time I think that I had to buckle up and not be a student because I was living at home. I was commuting to this campus every single day in my old little janky car and
yeah.
had to like nobody was forcing me to do there was no truancy. It was like you're paying, so why don't you go? And it was that is that is something that you don't necessarily get when you're dropped off at a 4-year university in a dorm room with a whole bunch of other people that are dropped off like, "What do we do
What do
now?"
we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy looks cute. Okay, I guess
Yeah.
I'll
And then
mosey on over there. Yeah.
and then there we go.
And there we go. Exactly. And it's so funny. That's why I mentioned to you earlier when you said I'm not a good student. Me as well. And I ended up graduating, my undergrad with a 3.8 and my master's.
Noise.
I got into Florida International University for their public health
Yeah.
track, which was extremely competitive, but I came with a ton of recommendations and I graduated with my master's with a 4.0. And so I think it's not necessarily that we weren't good students. I think what we lacked was direction and clarity
Yeah.
and belief that we could actually do that.
And knowing what
So,
it looked like.
and knowing and understanding what it looks like. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is something that you gain with experience.
Yep.
So,
And I
yeah.
would also say I think it helped build our confidence in
Mm,
problem solving. Because
yeah.
the confidence comes from doing the thing, not thinking about doing the thing, not seeing somebody else do the thing. It comes from actually doing it, and often that means failing, getting up, failing, getting up,
Yeah.
and then finally figuring it out. When you have the confidence that you can do that, you really
Mm,
that confidence bleeds into many other areas of life. I
yep,
don't
exactly.
This brings us to the podcast. Did you and I have any idea how to do this?
Absolutely not.
When I say 0 idea, I mean, we didn't even know what that
Uh,
we have the world at our
we
fingertips.
we
We c
we started we
nothing.
started off thinking we could do this damn thing on a Zoom call. Remember
We
that? When we were
Yeah,
like, "Let's log into Zoom. How hard can it be?"
and we were like, "Well, maybe we should get a real platform." Is there a platform out there that does things for us?
Yep.
Shout out Riverside. Um,
Yes.
Lots of
Yes.
shout outs today, but we didn't know
Yeah.
what we were doing, but we knew we had the ability to figure it out.
Yeah.
And man, we have done some trial and error.
And so we saved all of that content because we're gonna start sharing that at some point, and it is just hilarious now that I look back between video quality, sound quality, topics that we were trying to talk about, dogs barking, microphones
UPS.
falling, cameras going crazy. Just it, it was a hot mess, y'all, but we did it. And, and every time we drop an episode, we text each other like, wow, we actually, we put something, and that was our thing was we need to be able to put, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we have to be proud of it.
Yeah,
And I can truly say, I think we have done that.
yeah,
Okay,
I
so this
agree.
kind of ended up being kind of serious, which is
Wait,
not like us, right?
well,
But hey,
yeah,
I mean, we're
it
not
is.
just,
It's our stories. We're not just
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
faces.
We're not just the fun gals.
We
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 actually
are the
have some
fun
depth.
gals, though. We are the fun gals.
We are.
and you're real fun. You got yourself, you did some business development at a Dave Matthews concert. We don't need
I
to go into it,
did.
but just know
Yes,
that's true, people.
I sure did. I sure did. Stay tuned.
Yep.
So okay, anything else we wanna share on this episode?
The only thing I would love for once we put this episode out there, I would love for the people listening to share their stories. Like how the F did you get to where you are? Leave it in a comment. And you can send us an email at what are we? Leadershiplorepodcast at gmail.com.
That's right.
We would love to hear your stories. We're eventually going to get to a point where we start sharing anonymously, if you want, some listener stories with approval of the listener, of course, because real life stories are important. We just don't hear people's inside stories enough.
Yeah, and we're already getting a few emails, with some people sharing some stuff, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about how the F we got to this podcast piece, but we could do that another time because I know we're trying to be really intentional about,
Did we? Yeah, because I
how
can't
much
remember how
time.
we got here.
Well, we got here because we were both speaking at this virtual event that was a complete shit show, pardon my
Well, of
French,
course. Yes.
and we just kept side eyeing each other the entire time, and we just realized that of people there, we were the coolest, and we just vibed, and then fast forward a little bit of time, we're like, "I know what we should do. We should
Yeah.
go on a trip and make our husbands become friends." And
Yep.
we went to New Orleans for a week together
It
and
was so
had
fun.
probably that still remains one of my top trips ever.
It was so fun. Remember what
Yes.
we got our sisters? Ashley, I hope you still have yours. It's like this little
Uh,
black bag of tricks, and one of them,
I
it's like a little
mine
man
is
in there.
working. Mine is working. Yes, we're trying to marry our sisters off. Mine is
Good
working.
girl. Great.
Anyways, so
All right.
okay,
I think we're good.
that's
I think we can
that's
wrap
it for
this
this
one
one.
up.
I think that's it, and thank you all for listening and watching. All
All
right,
right.
signing off.